It's January 2024, and we still don't have any Game Boy Pokemon games on the Nintendo Switch. This is becoming almost a borderline problem. Now, that's a little bit of an exaggeration probably. There are far bigger issues than Pokemon games not being available on the Switch. But for gamers, this is a wild issue to even have. I've thought of a few different things that we could discuss today about why this is a problem that I think needs fixing. And by discuss, I mean you sit there and listen to me talking about it. The price of the Nintendo Switch Online subscription packages has to play some sort of role in the lack of Pokemon games. The N64 and GBA are locked behind the expansion pass, a literal paywall. The N64 games like Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2 are behind this paywall. And if Ruby, Sapphire and Emerald, and Fire Red and Leaf Green were to be released for the service, they'd be behind this paywall. So that makes sense. Imagine thinking that Nintendo would let you play these games just because you're paying for Nintendo Switch Online. That's bizarre. But the Game Boy player on NSO is part of the base package. It's not behind the expansion pass. And this is where the price issue comes in. If you have just the base subscription, you'd be able to play Red, Blue, and Yellow, and Gold, Silver, and Crystal, all essentially for free. Nintendo would be nuts to let you do that. I do think that most people would be playing the GBA games, but there's a number of people, me being one of them, that would absolutely be stuck on the Game Boy and Game Boy Color games. Maybe just enough people where they wouldn't ever pay for the expansion pass. Now, to rebuttal this, I literally only paid for the expansion pass because of the Stadium games being added to the N64. If games as historic and prestigious as the GBA Pokemon games were added, I can only assume that people would be lining up to play them. Sure, emulation is a lot easier to do and cheaper, but having the ease of access on the Switch instead of booting a computer would probably persuade more than a few people. And then you have the issue of all the features present in Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2 that benefit from the Game Boy connectivity. The features that are just completely inaccessible. The features that I would argue make it a completely different game. Arguably, the best version of the game. You can play the game with the rental Pokemon, and it's fun enough, but, as I and other people have said, the rental Pokemon are just not good. In Stadium 2, all of the legendary birds and beasts have either the absolute strongest moves with low accuracy, or just laughable moves. Raikou has Flash, Roar, Quick Attack, and Spark. Entei and Moltres have Fire Blast, so I mean they have great moves, but the moves have such low accuracy. And then the rest of its moveset is almost useless compared to that. And then there's ones like this Snorlax. It's not miserable. Curse is good because the drop in speed is not going to change when you attack in the battle. But Headbutt over Body Slam is just a downgrade. I'm not saying I need a PvP ready Snorlax. But with Headbutt, you're never going to get the flinch because you'll never outspeed your opponent. So, Headbutt's just a slightly better tackle in this case. And these are incredibly nitpicky, but the point still stands. After the lowest round of difficulty in the cups in the game, you're gonna have to have RNG just absolutely on your side, and then some. Without having some actually good movesets on good Pokemon, you're gonna be out of luck. Or heavily relying on some save states. Not that anyone would ever do that. Contrasting that last point, I thought of Mario Tennis and Mario Golf on the Switch Online. Those games had Game Boy connectivity, but those features being missing doesn't change the core game and how you play it in any way at all. You are able to unlock some tennis courts and import your characters in both games, but it doesn't restrict you from having access to the Mario characters that you would get the game for. All you're missing out on are these OCs made by Camelot. Ironically, the Game Boy Color Mario Tennis game requires the N64 to have access to Yoshi, Wario, Waluigi, and Bowser. But this video is about the N64 and Pokemon, not Mario Tennis on the Game Boy Color. And that's not even on the NSO, although I would love that. And since the last video on this subject came out, I've got some comments from the last one that I thought made some good points. This comment saying that Nintendo might put them on the NSO because they would rather us play the current games instead of getting addicted to the older games. And I definitely could see it being one of the reasons, but we'd at least be playing these games on official hardware. Instead, myself and others will continue to play on emulation. And by emulation, I mean our official game packs on Game Boy Color, obviously. Or this comment saying that Nintendo is holding out for the next console as a buying push. And I can see that as well. Especially with all the talk of the Switch 2 rumors around the time of this video being released. I'm not looking forward to buying a brand new console, but it's Nintendo, it's gonna be good, it's gonna be quality. And this comment saying that they're still working out the kinks for the transfer pack functionality, which I completely agree on. I think we oversimplify how Nintendo does things. They don't just press a button and it all magically starts working. And because the NSO games are technically online, I can imagine this causing some issues. But the Game Boy games were released on the 3DS with forwards compatibility, so I'd say it's definitely possible. And this comment, saying just, I'm mad. Me too, man. I never had the patience as a kid to play Pokemon on the Game Boy, make a proper team that wasn't just a starter, a legendary, and whatever HM mule I had. So, I never got to play the Gym Leader Castle or the Prime Cup Master Ball level with a good team. And this is a brand new experience that I, along with others, could have, all because of the Switch Online. And I don't want to sound ungrateful. Having the 2 Stadium games where I can just boot up the Switch and play them, instead of having to lug out the N64, hook it up to a TV that doesn't look as pretty as it should, it's a very enjoyable experience. But until the Game Boy games are on the NSO, we're just going to play Stadium 1 and 2 with rental teams. It's okay. It's just not the best way. And it's obvious if you play the game. We're right on the heels of Pokemon Day 2024. So maybe we'll get something. Maybe. Hopefully. Doubtfully. It's been a while since my last video. Having a kid will do that to you. I've got some ideas for new videos though. You can help me out by commenting, liking, and subscribing. It really does make a difference. Have a great day, make good choices, and until next time, see you later.